Week 3 of the NFL season wrapped, of course, on Monday. And I get to look back, go through as much of the games, if not all of the games, as I can. And I go and I rank every single one of them. A lot of blowouts this week. Wasn't the best time to be a fan of certain different teams, and we'll talk about it. In list form. That's right. I got every single game from week 3, including their scores, and I get to rank each game from S to F. S is an all-time classic that will be replayed even after the year is over. Very rarely do I get any S-ranked games out where even after the fact it is historically accurate to watch. Probably more in the playoffs. It's more of a playoff tier, but I have to put it there in case maybe a regular season game goes above and beyond. A is rewatchable, like you're on DirecTV or something, watching regular stuff, and one of these week's games comes on. That's perfect for you. B, for me, is a pretty good game in the moment, but I'm not going to watch it again. You know, that's kind of a B. C. C tier is just not a fun game to watch at all. Not fun. Just, forgettable can be a big part of C, but it's not as bad as F. F tiered games are, one, you did watch that game, but also you hated it. You watched it and you hated it, and it's just was an absolute travesty to even attempt to watch. There is a few Fs on this list of 16 games set. So let's get started on ranking these games, starting with Thursday Night Football, New York Jets, and the New England Patriots. This is the Thursday Night Football that we all remember. This is the Thursday Night Football game that has the worst qualities of all Thursday nights. A team like the New England Patriots, who are depleted, weren't going very well during the season, did win a game against the Bengals and was close in their week 1 or week 2 game. So you think, okay, maybe they can attack the Jets and upset them after what had happened previous in week 2, which was a bunch of different upsets. That one didn't happen. Instead, the Jets pretty much dominated the entire time. The Patriots were frustratingly bad at most things, mainly passing the ball. But the running game didn't get too good, especially when their running back, Stevenson, I think, got injured during that game. And overall, I mean, the Patriots are in the rebuild mode, and the Jets have Aaron Rodgers, who was up to form in this game, slinging the ball pretty damn well. So this game was the antithesis of all things Thursday Night Football. And with that being said, you have to put it in the C tier. I don't think it's F tier, even though we all had to watch and endure the game. Because you get to watch Aaron Rodgers play. Well, man, it's either a C or an F. Right now I put it at C, like a low C. There are F-tiered games we had to witness. And the next game, I don't think was one of them. The Giants versus the Browns. Be honest, when I looked at this matchup going in, I was not intrigued. Because the Giants are a memeable mess of a franchise right now, but mainly of a team. Literally last week, of course, losing against Washington by not getting any extra points, and watching Washington win by only field goals in one of the stranger games that we saw. But this week was kind of good for the Giants. Malik Neighbors had his coming out party of a game. The receiver, of course, that I predicted to be the best out of the bunch. Absolutely stole the show and helped make Daniel Jones look good, which might make Giants fans a little bit nervous. And speaking on nervous around quarterbacks, Deshaun Watson, he just doesn't have it anymore. He doesn't. I think Amari Cooper might have had a couple of touchdown receptions in this game as well, but Watson, just not a good quarterback at all. Once the Browns get Chubb back, maybe they'll get a better identity to run, but for now, they just don't look good, in my opinion. This game is above the Patriots-Jets game, but it is a C. Didn't really watch too much of it. Didn't produce much fun. Fun is not what you're going to have with the Eagles and the Saints. Now, the Eagles, coming off an embarrassing loss in Week 2, going up against the Atlanta Falcons, where I watched that live on this channel, on Twitch. And it was certainly entertaining for the Falcons, but for the Eagles, it was a mess. And this Eagles team is still finding their way through. But to go against a Saints team in New Orleans and do what they did against the Saints shows promise. This was a defensive battle through and through. I think at halftime it was like 3-7 Eagles up or something. Crazy. Very defensive-minded. The Saints offense just could not get anything going. They can run the ball well, but Derek Carr was not what he was against the Cowboys, let me tell you. Missing a few throws. Just doing Derek Carr things where he lulls you into success and then kind of duds out multiple times. As a Raider fan, I know from experience, this game was a defensive battle, but I don't know if it was an exciting defensive battle for me. I'm going to throw it behind the Giants-Browns because at least the Giants had Neighbors coming out well. Well, the Eagles did come back later in the fourth after the Saints took a lead. This one was a little more exciting because these teams are pretty damn good. It might be NFC, might be some of the best for the NFC. So, it's again just a C ranking. A lot of C's. This was not the best week. Not very good week as well for the Houston Texans, man. Like, I'm a big CJ Stroud fan, especially when I predicted that he'd be the best rookie quarterback last year, and he certainly was. But the Texans ran into a buzzsaw of a team in the Minnesota Vikings who are on an upper echelon of great this year. This Vikings defense is super tough to play well against at all right now. They found their formula. They found their coordinator. I believe that's Brian Flores. And Flores, even though he was kind of tough on Mr. Tua Tagovailoa, and it made the poor quarterback get so upset. Maybe too upset because he got a concussion, but we'll get to that game later. Oh, no, that game didn't happen. That was last week's game. Anyways, Vikings are a buzzsaw. I don't think you can go through with them. Sam Darnold, man. I think he had 4 touchdowns, no picks. Just slinging the rock down the field. Justin Jefferson certainly helps, but, I think Darnold was the overall best choice. I don't know if J.J. McCarthy could do anything that Darnold has been doing for the Minnesota Vikings, man. They look like one of the best in the NFL. As for the game, I did watch a lot of this game. And the Texans' troubles, especially with turnovers. I don't think it was No, I'm not a big fan of blowouts just in general. This game is definitely, I think it's right behind this Eagles Saints game. Because the Eagles Saints wasn't like a turnover super mess. It was just two good defenses going for a lot of it. Watching the Vikings cook is fun, but I'm not the biggest fan of blowouts just in general. With blowouts being said, the Denver Broncos, and what I think is the biggest shocker of the week, well, yeah, I think that is the bigger shocker of this week. Well, maybe second to a different game, which I'll get to soon, or third to a different game as well. Broncos punked the Buccaneers. I was watching that game very vehemently. I have Baker Mayfield on fantasy because I thought Mayfield was back to his gunslinging ways. Instead, he couldn't get the ball, didn't get enough time to throw the ball as easily as he thought he could because the Broncos defense was all over that guy. Mike Evans could not get anything over Surtain, who's looking like, once again, one of the best corners in the league. Broncos got a huge, huge help from him. And Bo Nix just had to do mistake-free-esque football. I think he did that pretty well. He looks like he's learning every step of the way, which is exactly what you want out of this Broncos team, who I don't think is going to be extremely good this year, but you just want to see Nix learn. I think I'm starting to believe. Well, I hope not because it's the Broncos. But anyways, for this game, because of the ineptitude of the Buccaneers, but the surprise of the Broncos, I mean, this one's still in C. You see a pattern here. A lot of these games aren't that good. The early window just had a lot of weird blowouts and issues just all around here. Yeah, blowouts, including Packers and Titans. Watched a bit of this game, but not too much of it. Malik Willis, at this moment, is a fun quarterback to watch, or the Packers are doing very good things with him. They also have a surprisingly great defense this year. I believe their defense coordinator last year, Joe Barry, getting canned, has actually worked out fantastic for the Green Bay Packers. And even without Jordan Love, this Packers team is doing some good things. Man, Malik Willis, we all thought when he was drafted by the Titans, the same team he just beat this week, that he wouldn't be anything. Like that was just another bust or a backup quarterback that needed a lot more time to Green and whatnot. Titans certainly found that out when he tried to start. I think that was 2 years ago or something. But the Titans now need a quarterback more than ever because Will Levis ain't it right now. He is not. The defense shows up at times for Tennessee, but Malik Willis, man, he is struggling. And I think it's like once every game he makes a bonehead, weird decision. For somebody who was in the league last year and played a little bit last year, he's making more and more mistakes, and he might be one of the worst quarterbacks in this season. This Packers-Titans game, I think the Titans tried to come back kind of late. It's going to be behind the Giants-Browns game, ahead of the Broncos-Bucks game. The upset, maybe you could say the Broncos-Bucks could be ahead, but so far it's been kind of a dud week. What looks like was a dud between the Bears and Colts, actually, I believe was a pretty good defensive showing, and Caleb Williams having some of his potential shine a little bit. Like, the Bears weren't good or great, obviously. I think they have a kind of Swiss cheese-esque offensive line, and Williams is trying to throw just hero ball bombs everywhere around the field. But it's just man, he just needs a little bit more time, I guess. Going against the Colts, who I think Anthony Richardson had a bad game as well. The Bears' defense is really pretty good. And Richardson is having kind of a sophomore-esque slump, but that's what happens when he's only played really 4 games this season. So this one's a fun defensive battle. I wouldn't rewatch it, but it was like slightly entertaining in how the defense was. I think it might actually be a B. Might be our first B game. In fact, I think it's behind the Eagles Saints, but I think this Eagles Saints game isn't really a C. It might be a B. It's a low B because there are other games that are much better than them, but I think Eagles Saints was a pretty good one. Or the Bears Colts, my mistake, was a weird defensively fun game to watch, but Richardson needs to tighten up a bit of his throws. He'll learn, and he's a great talent. Still got the Colts the victory. That's all Colts fans really want to see. Next up, Steelers, Chargers. The Steelers are 3-0, and people are pretty shocked at that. The Chargers had Justin Herbert out there for, I think, 2 quarters at most. And then Herbert got injured and left, only to have then Taylor Heineke come into the game. Heineke comes in and makes the game a whole lot worse. The Steelers just need their uproarious, fantastic defense to do all the work, and they absolutely continue to do work. They're 3-0. Tom Coughlin trying to drag that team to a winning record and back to the playoffs for a second year in a row with weird quarterback troubles. Although Justin Fields has been not terrible for them. He's just been doing his own thing. Maybe did just need the right kind of coaching staff. Definitely needed the new OC, because we'll get to a certain OC that's not very good. This Chargers-Steelers game, it's going to be another C. A lot of C's in this ranking for this week. It's not been good. If I were to rank it right now, it looks like a C- week. Or like a C week, because there are some good games. This Steelers-Chargers game, because of the injury to Herbert, I think this one right now is the second worst. Just because Herbert got injured and the Chargers couldn't recover after that. But it's again another C. A lot of C's, obviously. You hate to see that. Transition. Seahawks, Dolphins. The Seahawks are also 3-0 to a few people's surprise and have a good defense. But the Dolphins don't really have the quarterback to perform with the receivers that they got. This one might actually be worse than it's not. These two should be just overlapped because they're both the same. These are both the same type of game. Teams that just don't have great passing players with a little bit of playmakers on either side, but Seahawks 3-0. They're really good. Geno Smith, really good quarterback. Or half-decent quarterback when you're going against the Dolphins, who can't produce any offense going. Yeah, I like this ranking right there. I think it's a little bit better than the Jets-Patriots game because this is a primetime game. You can skip this game and nobody would care. This is an F. It's not an F. I actually think this game, because of the sheer shock value, is right here. I could go for multiple hours on the Raiders' ineptitude against Carolina. But I don't think the Raiders were so bad they lost the game. I think the Panthers just outright beat the Raiders down. They had the highest points for this entire week up against the Raiders. A Raider defense that's supposed to be really good just was not performing well at all. They were making some business decisions. That was a fun clip to read as a Raiders fan, huh? For Carolina, all it was the quarterback change, man. Andy Dalton, get a veteran in there, and maybe that offense might actually be something to take a hold of. It might be to take seriously. You know, this Panthers offense. The offensive line is crazy good. I'm pretty sure this is a very good offensive line for Carolina. And they just really needed that quarterback spark. Bryce Young's career is probably not over, but it really should be. At least in Carolina. Great job by the Panthers. They made my buddy lose a parlay, which was really funny. Or I guess that was all on Minshew and the porous Raiders. This game, because of the sheer factor of entertainment, I think it's actually better than the Broncos game. Because it's entertaining to watch a team that everyone said was the worst of the worst beat down a team that beat the Ravens the week prior. You know, I don't think it's a B ranking because I don't ever want to watch this, and live it didn't seem fun. But looking back on it, being objective was not terrible. You know, it was probably blacked out for most of the country anyways, besides by the respective teams' states. We got our first one, which on paper, with all the injuries between both squads, was going to be terrible. The afternoon games also, I might add, a lot of them were actually very good. The afternoon games where things started to pick up in good steam. Niners, Rams. Niners dealing with a host of injuries. Christian McCaffrey still out. Not running extremely well. Well, of course, not running at all. My mistake. They were down a couple of wide receivers. Deebo Samuel was out. And then at the last second, Kittle was ruled out with an injury. And I think that might have not helped the Niners if they hadn't gone up to a lead. I think they were up 21 to 3 before the Rams stormed back with Matthew Stafford, dragging a team that didn't have Kupp or Nakua out there. But with good running by Williams, who's still one of the better running backs, or he certainly reminded people that in this game. And a comeback that was equal parts fun and probably frustrating for Niner fans. It's an A-tier game. I would rewatch this game because I love me a good comeback story. Especially with these two injured, you got to see other players kind of shine their way through. Good job, Rams. I think they starved off an 0-3 start. I think they're 1-2. It's crazy. Great job by the Rams. Alrighty. Next up, Lions-Cardinals. This is another game in the same vein as the Bears-Colts game where even for the low score, it was at least a little bit entertaining. I'll be honest. I tried to watch, but as the Raider game was going on, I was not necessarily the most active in looking at other team stuff. It's a bit of a lower score game. I'd say it's almost like the Bears-Colts, where I believe, it's not. Ooh, I'm blanking. Kyler Murray still trying to get in with his receivers. I believe they're still clicking pretty well. And then with the Lions, the quarterback for the Lions, Jared Goff. Jared Goff, I think, had a monster run to bleed out the clock, and that's fun. I don't know if this is actually a B ranking team. This is like a very low B, and you'll see some teams that are going to surpass that. We go Ravens-Cowboys is one of those games. This game, I don't think it's an A rank, but it's a B+, very close to an A. Ravens get back into full form, as they should have. I think last week was the wake-up call they truly needed. And after losing to the Raiders, I think Derrick Henry finally got the touches and runs that he really needed. And Lamar Jackson still was throwing the ball as efficiently and running the ball as efficiently as he needed to. Ravens defense stop the Cowboys for the most part. Cowboys did make a nice comeback, which was fun to see, but Cowboys, they're looking like a bit of fraudsters, or they're having one of the worst starts I've seen out of the Cowboys at 1-2. Usually they're a pretty good regular season team, but to start out, it's been kind of rough. They paid players, a few stars, a lot of money, and the performances hasn't been there. Getting punked out by the Saints, and then now coming here against the Ravens and mounting a slight comeback, but not being able to do much to save it. Like Cowboys quarterbacks of old, not getting the clutch comeback that they want. This is a B+. Not really much, not necessarily an A, but the Cowboys comeback is at least entertaining enough for watching at the time. Now we get on to Sunday Night Football, Chiefs-Falcons. What a weird game. This is a weird game. Prime time. And the Falcons could have once again did what they did last week against the Eagles and not only upset a team, because I think the Chiefs were favored, but do it in a fourth quarter flurry. I think this game had a host of weird stuff happen to it. Patrick Mahomes certainly hasn't been himself so far this season. He's even said it himself, obviously. And Kirk Cousins, Cousins made some pretty good throws to help out, but it was tough to gauge whether or not he's truly back into full form or not. Falcons were very close, and I think a bad fourth down call where they ran some sort of weird sweep with Robinson instead of going straight up the gut on like fourth and pretty close inches led to a Chiefs win. And at the time, live, it was entertaining to see the Falcons mount somewhat of a comeback. But, I'd call it about a B, I would say. It's just behind. It's not very close behind, but I think it is definitely better than some of these games I've put at B. Entertainment for what the Falcons could have done, but ultimately kind of frustrating at the time. Speaking of frustrating, what I thought was the worst game, the Bills-Jaguars primetime game. What I said, I forgot that they scored 47. It didn't cross my damn mind. The Jaguars are not good. They are not a good squad at all. They have some big, bad defensive issues happening, man. Jags. This not only defensive but offensive too, actually, with Lawrence, and there's a lot of good pieces there, but that team was not looking great at all. And the Bills were electric the entire time. That almost could save it from being an F game, but it's a primetime Monday Night Football game, and it was over at about halftime with a 33. It was like a 33-3 lead, or 33-10, or something crazy. Jags had the funniest moment, I think, of week 3, where Mac Jones came into the game, and on his first play to go back to pass, the ball just gets swiped from him almost immediately, and it made me laugh at the time. It was great. Doubleheader for Monday Night Football, and one game was as boring and bad as this. This was the only F, I think, of the week. Well, because this was primetime, I think this is also an F-tiered game. Not as bad as this, but still an F-tiered team or game. I'll stick by that. I'll stick by this. But what wasn't an F-tier game and probably is a low A, the Commanders-Bengals. Hats off to the Commanders. Jaden Daniels is your guy. He finally showed up when the Bengals kept scoring right after the Commanders would. He would make some ballsy plays. He was making fourth down conversions and just calling them like, hey, I want to go for this on this fourth down. And the coach and the staff and all that, they let him do that. The offense let them do that. This Commanders team might actually be a little bit better than people thought. They are right now the leaders of that division. If I am not mistaken, the leaders of the NFC East. It's always a random assortment of NFC East teams. One of the worst starts you can think of is the Bengals, who, of course, losing week 1 against the Patriots kind of sullied the mood. And then last week, the Chiefs went toe-to-toe with them, barely lost. And the same thing here with the Commanders. They barely lost. The Bengals are a team that is not bad, but it's not even like unlucky. It's just a small little thing is needed, and I don't know what it is. Is it a different defensive mindset? Is the offense just not clicking extremely well because of the multiple distractions created by both wide receivers having to get paid? I don't know what it is, but the Bengals need to turn that around. They usually have weak starts, but it's just not clicking for them. And 0-3 is very tough because that is almost assuredly a possible loss or a playoff outage. But that's what we thought last year, and the Bengals went in and won it. And there's my tier list. These are all the week 3 games. This is the tiers. What do you guys think? What do the people on YouTube think? Down below, I want you to comment what games I think I rated too high. Which of the mid C tier teams did you hate or love the most? And how do you think your team is going to do come week 4, where I will be live watching Thursday Night Football tomorrow, play-by-play, all that jazz. Hopefully it's not one of these. Hopefully it's not this. And that's about it. I'm MCK. I'll see you in the next one.